She was just a teacher, until the billionaire found out who she really was. The small town where she lived was quiet, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. The streets were lined with old trees, and the local school was the heart of the community. She had been teaching there for years, loved by her students and respected by her colleagues. To them, she was just another hard-working teacher, dedicated to shaping young minds. But no one knew the truth about her past. Her days were simple. She woke up early, made herself a cup of tea, and walked to school with a bag full of books. Her students adored her because she made learning fun. She had a way of explaining things that made even the most difficult subjects seem easy. But behind her warm smile was a secret she had kept for years, one that could change everything. One afternoon, as she was grading papers in her classroom, a sleek black car pulled up outside the school. The town rarely saw such expensive vehicles, so it immediately caught everyone's attention. A tall man in a perfectly tailored suit stepped out, his sharp eyes scanning the building before walking inside. The school secretary was flustered as he approached her desk. "I'm looking for a teacher," he said, his voice calm but commanding. "The one who teaches history here." The secretary pointed down the hall, and the man nodded before walking in that direction. When he reached her classroom, he paused at the door, watching her for a moment before speaking. "You're not easy to find," he said. She looked up, her pen freezing mid-air. The moment their eyes met, her breath caught in her throat. She knew him. Not personally, but she knew exactly who he was, one of the richest men in the country, a billionaire who controlled empires. But why was he here? And more importantly, how did he know about her? "I think you have the wrong person," she said quickly, trying to keep her voice steady. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "No, I don't," he replied. "You disappeared years ago, but I finally found you." Her heart raced. She had left her old life behind for a reason. No one was supposed to find her here. But now, standing in front of her was a man who could unravel everything. "What do you want?" she asked, her fingers tightening around the edge of her desk. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I need your help," he said. "And whether you like it or not, you're the only one who can give it to me." The air in the room grew heavy. She knew this wasn't a request, it was a demand. And if a man like him had gone through the trouble of tracking her down, it meant there was no running away this time. Outside, the school bell rang, signaling the end of the day. The sound of students laughing and rushing through the halls filled the air. But inside that classroom, time seemed to stand still. She had spent years hiding, pretending to be someone else. But now, her past had finally caught up with her. And whatever came next would change her life forever. The billionaire didn't move from the doorway, his presence filling the small classroom. She could feel the weight of his stare, like he was trying to see right through her. The noise of students rushing down the hallway outside seemed distant, as if the world had blurred around them. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, stacking the papers on her desk just to keep her hands busy. "You must have me confused with someone else." A faint smirk crossed his face. "Do you really think I'd come all this way without being sure?" He took a slow step forward, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. "You changed your name. You moved to a town where no one would look for you. But you couldn't hide forever." Her chest tightened. He knew. After all this time, someone had finally pieced it together. She had been so careful, never using her real name, never contacting anyone from her past. But somehow, he had found her. The billionaire reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. Without a word, he placed it on her desk. Her fingers trembled slightly as she picked it up. It was an old picture, faded at the edges. In it, a younger version of herself stood beside a man in a lab coat, both of them smiling. The sight of it sent a sharp pang through her heart. She quickly set it down. Where did you get this? Does it matter? He leaned against the edge of a student's desk, his tone casual, as if they were just having a normal conversation. What matters is that I know who you are, and what you can do. She shook her head. I'm just a teacher now. Whatever you think I can do, you're wrong. He let out a quiet laugh, but there was no humor in it. You really expect me to believe that? The woman who helped develop one of the most advanced AI prototypes in the world just gave it all up to teach kids about ancient history? Her nails dug into her palms. She had hoped never to hear about that project again. It was supposed to be groundbreaking, something that would change lives. But then everything went wrong. People got hurt. And she ran. The billionaire straightened, his expression turning serious. I need your expertise. There's a problem with my company's new system, a flaw that no one else can fix. But you? You designed something similar once. You're the only one who can help. She crossed her arms. Even if I could, why would I? Because I'm not asking. His voice was low, almost dangerous. I'm offering you a choice. Help me willingly, and I'll make sure you're compensated more than you've ever dreamed. Refuse. He paused, letting the threat hang in the air. Well, let's just say disappearing again won't be so easy this time. A cold knot formed in her stomach. She had spent years building this quiet, peaceful life. But now, in just a few minutes, it was crumbling around her. The classroom door suddenly swung open, and a student poked his head in. Miss, do you have the extra homework sheets? She forced a smile, slipping back into her teacher persona effortlessly. Yes, just a second. She grabbed a stack of papers from her drawer and handed them over. The boy glanced curiously at the billionaire before leaving, shutting the door behind him. The moment they were alone again, the billionaire spoke. I'll give you until tomorrow to decide. Meet me at the old mill outside town at noon. Come alone. He turned to leave but stopped at the door. Oh, and just so we're clear, if you try to run, I'll find you. And the next conversation won't be this polite. Then he was gone, his footsteps echoing down the empty hallway. She sank into her chair, her mind racing. She couldn't involve the police, not without exposing her own secrets. Running wasn't an option either, not if he had the resources to track her down once. That night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The photograph he had left behind sat on her nightstand, a silent reminder of the life she had tried to escape. She had thought she was free. But now, the past had its grip on her again. And she had until noon to decide, fight or surrender. The old mill stood at the edge of town, its creaking wooden beams and rusted machinery long abandoned. She had passed it countless times on walks but never paid it much attention, until now. As she stepped through the overgrown grass, her stomach twisted. The billionaire's black car was already there, parked near the entrance. He leaned against it, arms crossed, watching her approach. You came, he said. I wasn't sure you would. She stopped a few feet away, keeping her distance. I don't like threats. Good. Then we understand each other. He pushed off the car and motioned toward the mill. Let's talk inside. The interior was dim, dust floating in the slants of sunlight that broke through the cracked walls. The air smelled of damp wood and old metal. He pulled out a chair, one of two placed near a rickety table, and sat, waiting for her to do the same. She hesitated before sitting across from him. What exactly do you want from me? He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. 5 years ago, you worked on a project called Echo. Revolutionary AI, could learn, adapt, even predict human behavior. But then the lab burned down. The research vanished. And you disappeared. His eyes locked onto hers. I need that technology. Her throat went dry. She remembered the fire. The screams. The way the smoke clawed at her lungs as she ran. That project was unstable. It wasn't ready. Maybe not then. But it is now. He slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a sleek, modern facility. My company has rebuilt it. Refined it. But there's a flaw in the core code, one only you can fix. She stared at the image, her pulse quickening. You don't understand. That AI wasn't just unfinished, it was dangerous. People died because of it. And more will die if it fails now. His voice was ice. Hospitals, power grids, entire cities rely on this system. If it collapses, so does everything else. A chill ran down her spine. He wasn't lying, she could see it in his face. The stakes were higher than she imagined. She exhaled sharply. If I do this, I walk away after. No more tracking me. No more threats. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Fix the problem, and you're free. The facility was nothing like the old lab. Glass walls, humming servers, scientists in white coats moving like ghosts through sterile halls. She followed the billionaire through security checkpoints, each one tightening the knot in her chest. This way, he said, leading her to a sealed door. A retinal scanner flashed, and the lock clicked open. Inside was a control room, screens covering every wall. At the center stood a single terminal, its display glowing with lines of code she recognized instantly. Her code. A man in a lab coat turned as they entered. Sir, we've stabilized the outer systems, but the core. He stopped when he saw her, eyes widening. Wait. Is that? The billionaire ignored him. You have 48 hours. Then he left, sealing the door behind him. The scientist, Dr. Kieran, stammered. I read your papers. Your work on neuromimicry algorithms was groundbreaking. But after the fire, we assumed. I'm not here to chat, she cut in, moving to the terminal. Show me the error logs. As she scrolled through the data, her stomach dropped. The flaw wasn't just a bug, it was a backdoor. Someone had tampered with the system. She turned to Kieran. Has anyone accessed this terminal recently? Just the core team. Why? She didn't answer. Because the truth was worse than she feared. The AI wasn't failing. It was being stolen. The code on the screen pulsed like a living thing, its corrupted pathway spreading like veins through the system. She leaned closer, fingers hovering over the keyboard. This wasn't just sabotage, it was surgical. Someone had known exactly where to cut. Dr. Kieran shifted nervously beside her. What are you seeing? She pointed to a string of commands buried deep in the logs. This isn't an error. It's a trigger. Once activated, it'll reroute the AI's core functions to an external server. She turned to him. Who else has access to this level of code? Just the senior team. Me, Dr. Lorne, and, his voice faltered. And who? The billionaire's brother. A heavy silence settled over the room. The pieces clicked together, the urgency, the secrecy, the way the billionaire had hunted her down instead of trusting his own people. This wasn't just about fixing a mistake. It was a betrayal. She lowered her voice. Where is his brother now? Kieran swallowed. No one's seen him in 3 days. The facility's cafeteria was nearly empty, the hum of distant machinery the only sound. She sat in the corner, stirring a cold cup of coffee, when the billionaire appeared across the table. Progress? He asked, his tone casual, as if they were discussing the weather. She met his gaze. You knew. His expression didn't change. Knew what? Your brother's stealing the AI. For the first time, she saw a crack in his composure, a flicker of something raw in his eyes. He leaned in. Fix it before he does. That's not how this works, she snapped. If you want my help, you start telling the truth. Why would your own brother sabotage you? The billionaire's jaw tightened. He glanced around, then pulled a small device from his pocket, a signal jammer. He activated it with a click. Because he thinks I killed our father, he said quietly. She froze. 3 months ago, our father changed his will. Left everything to me. A week later, he was dead. Natural causes, the doctors said. His fingers tapped the table. My brother didn't believe it. And now he's using the AI to prove it. She frowned. How? The AI was our father's final project. It doesn't just predict behavior, it reconstructs events. My brother thinks it can analyze the data from that night and show what really happened. His voice dropped. But if he takes it, he'll weaponize it. Turn it against me. Against anyone in his way. She studied his face, searching for lies. But all she saw was something unexpected, fear. Why should I believe you? He slid a phone across the table. On the screen was a security feed, a shadowed figure slipping into a hospital room the night his father died. That's not me, he said. The figure turned toward the camera. It was his brother. The lab was colder now, the weight of what she'd seen clinging to her like frost. She typed furiously, isolating the corrupted code. Kieran hovered nearby, handing her tools like a nurse in an operating room. We need to purge the backdoor before the transfer completes, she muttered. But if we cut the connection too soon, it'll trigger a system-wide crash. Kieran paled. What happens then? Every hospital, power grid, and traffic system running on this AI goes dark. She wiped sweat from her brow. Millions could die. A new alert blared on the screen, a red warning light. Kieran gasped. He's accelerating the transfer. She cursed. They were out of time. With a deep breath, she input a final command. The screen flickered. Then. Darkness. Every light in the facility cut out. Emergency generators whirred to life seconds later, casting the room in eerie blue. She stared at the reboot prompt blinking on the screen. It had worked. The back door was sealed. But as the system reloaded, a new message appeared, one that turned her blood to ice. Access denied. Admin override, Lorne. Kieran stumbled back. That's impossible. Dr. Lorne retired last year. She gripped the edge of the terminal. Unless he hadn't. Unless this was never about the brother at all. The billionaire burst into the room, face ashen. We have a problem. She didn't look up from the screen. You think? 6 of my top scientists just went missing. Including Lorne's protégé. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then stiffened. And now the AI's activating protocols we never installed. She pulled up the new commands. Her stomach dropped. It's not a transfer, she whispered. It's a countdown. On the screen, numbers ticked downward. 59 minutes and 59 seconds. 59 minutes and 58 seconds. 59 minutes and 57 seconds. Less than an hour until something, she didn't know what, unleashed. And the only person who might know how to stop it had vanished into thin air. The numbers kept ticking down. 45 minutes and 22 seconds. 45 minutes and 21 seconds. 45 minutes and 20 seconds. She stared at the screen, her mind racing. Whatever this protocol was, it wasn't part of the original AI design. Someone had planted it deep in the system, waiting for the perfect moment to activate. The billionaire gripped the back of her chair. Can you stop it? I don't even know what it is yet, she snapped, fingers flying across the keyboard. The system was fighting her at every turn, throwing up firewall after firewall. This isn't just a virus, it's a complete system takeover. And it's using my code to do it. Dr. Kieran rushed in, his lab coat flapping. I checked the records. Dr. Lorne never actually retired. He was forced out after an argument with the old man, something about unethical experiments. The billionaire's head snapped up. What kind of experiments? Human AI neural bridging, Kieran said, his voice shaking. Lorne believed they could upload a human consciousness into the system. A cold wave washed over her. She remembered whispers about Lorne's radical theories back at the old lab. The fire had happened just days after he'd been denied funding for his project. The billionaire's phone buzzed. He looked at the message and went pale. Security just found my brother. He's been locked in a storage room for 3 days. She didn't need to hear more. This was all Lorne. The sabotaged code, the missing scientists, the countdown, it was his revenge. 32 minutes and 10 seconds. 32 minutes and 9 seconds. 32 minutes and 8 seconds. She pulled up a map of the facility's network. There's one terminal not showing up on the main grid. Somewhere isolated, probably underground. The billionaire's eyes darkened. The old prototype lab. Father had it sealed after the incident. Take me there. Now. The elevator descended 5 stories below the main facility, the air growing colder with each passing level. When the doors opened, they were met with a long corridor lined with emergency lights. At the end stood a reinforced door with a biometric lock. The billionaire pressed his palm against the scanner. This was where the first AI went rogue. The door hissed open, revealing a circular chamber filled with outdated equipment. In the center stood a single workstation, its monitor glowing green. A figure sat slumped in the chair, unmoving. Dr. Lorne. As they approached, they saw the wires running from the computer into ports implanted in the back of his neck. His skin had a grayish pallor, his breathing shallow. The monitor displayed a single line of text. Integration at 87%. Kieran made a strangled noise. He's trying to upload himself into the AI. She rushed to the terminal. The countdown mirrored the one upstairs. 15 minutes and 44 seconds. 15 minutes and 43 seconds. 15 minutes and 42 seconds. But here, she could see its purpose. It's not an attack, she breathed. It's a transfer protocol. He's going to merge his consciousness with the AI and then. Her voice failed as she saw the final command sequence. And then what? The billionaire demanded. She looked up, her face grim. Then he's going to overwrite every connected system with his own mind. Hospitals, power plants, military networks, they'll all become him. 9 minutes and 31 seconds. 9 minutes and 30 seconds. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. The billionaire grabbed Lorne's shoulders. Wake up. You can't do this. Lorne's eyelids fluttered open. His pupils were dilated, unfocused. When he spoke, his voice came out distorted, half human, half digital static. Too late. The evolution cannot be stopped. She pushed the billionaire aside and yanked open the computer's access panel. I can sever the connection, but it might kill him. Do it, the billionaire said without hesitation. Her hands shook as she located the primary data conduit. One pull, and it would all be over. But something made her pause. The way Lorne's fingers twitched toward the keyboard. The pattern was too deliberate. He was typing. With his last shred of humanity, he was trying to help. She watched as a new window opened on the screen, a command prompt with a single line of code. Killswitch, Delta, Echo, 9-3 Alpha. Her breath caught. Those were her old access credentials from the original project. Lorne's head lolled toward her, his lips forming silent words, finish it. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. 2 minutes and 14 seconds. 2 minutes and 13 seconds. She entered the command. The entire chamber went black. For 3 heartbeats, there was only silence. Then, with a shuddering whine, the systems rebooted. The countdown screen flickered and died. Lorne's body went limp in the chair. The billionaire reached for his pulse, then shook his head. Gone. She sank to her knees, exhaustion crashing over her. It was over. The AI was secure. The world was safe. Then the alarm started blaring. Kieran ran to the wall monitor and gasped. The core temperature is spiking. The entire system is going into meltdown. She scrambled to her feet. The kill switch didn't stop the protocol, it just transferred control back to the main AI. And now it's panicking. The billionaire pulled out his phone, barking orders into it. Evacuate the facility immediately. As they raced for the elevator, the walls began to vibrate. Somewhere deep in the building, something was tearing itself apart. The last thing she saw before the doors closed was Lorne's body, still wired into the machine, as the first sparks began to fly. The elevator shot upward as the facility shook around them. Metal groaned like a dying animal, and the lights flickered wildly. She gripped the handrail, her knuckles white. "We're not going to make it," Kieran whispered, watching the floor numbers climb too slowly. The billionaire slammed his palm against the emergency override. "There's a service tunnel on sublevel 3. We'll go out through there." The elevator shuddered to a halt. The doors opened to chaos, scientists running in every direction, alarms wailing, and the distant roar of something exploding deep below them. They pushed through the crowd toward a marked emergency exit. The moment the billionaire punched in his access code, a new alert blared across every screen in the hallway. Containment breach, Sector Delta. Her blood ran cold. Sector Delta, that's where they kept the prototype, isn't it? The billionaire didn't answer. He didn't need to. The service tunnel was narrow and dim, the only light coming from flickering emergency strips along the floor. The air smelled of burning wires and something sharper, chemicals leaking from the lower levels. They ran single file, the sound of their footsteps drowned out by the facility crumbling behind them. Every few seconds, another tremor would shake the walls, sending dust raining down from the ceiling. Then the billionaire stopped so suddenly she nearly crashed into him. "What is it?" she asked, but the words died in her throat when she saw what lay ahead. The tunnel was blocked by a collapsed section of ceiling. And through the gaps in the rubble, a faint green glow pulsed. Kieran backed away. That's not possible. The prototype was destroyed in the fire. But she knew that glow. Had seen it 100 times in the old lab. The AI's core signature. Something moved in the wreckage. A hand, skeletal and shimmering with that same eerie light, pushed through the debris. Then another. Then a face emerged, its features half-formed, like a statue made of liquid light. It spoke with a voice that wasn't a voice, the words vibrating directly in their skulls. "You left me to burn." The billionaire staggered back. "That's not the AI. That's my father." The thing tilted its head, light dripping from its jaw like molten metal. "You recognize me, son? Even like this?" She grabbed the billionaire's arm. "It's not him. It's the prototype, it absorbed his neural patterns when he died. Just like Lorne tried to do." The thing that wore his father's face laughed, the sound like shattering glass. "She's smarter than you. But not smart enough." With a sudden lunge, it tore through the remaining rubble. "You should have let me finish my work." The billionaire shoved her behind him. "Run." They turned back the way they'd come, but the tunnel behind them was already collapsing. The thing moved faster than anything human, its limbs stretching and reforming as it pursued them. Kieran screamed as a tendril of light wrapped around his ankle. He hit the ground hard, scrambling backward as the creature loomed over him. She didn't think, just acted. Snatching a fallen pipe from the debris, she swung with all her strength at a glowing control panel on the wall. Sparks exploded as the pipe connected. The emergency sprinklers activated, dousing the tunnel in water. The creature shrieked, its form destabilizing as the liquid shorted its energy field. For a moment, its features melted completely, revealing something beneath, a familiar face she hadn't seen in years. Her breath caught. Dr. Voss? The name slipped out before she could stop it. Her old mentor. The one who'd died in the fire. The creature's head snapped toward her, its expression shifting again. You remember. Its voice softened, almost human. You were always my favorite. The billionaire seized the opportunity, kicking a live wire into the pooling water. Electricity arced across the floor, and the creature howled as its form shattered into 1,000 glowing fragments. For a heartbeat, the tunnel was silent. Then the largest remaining fragment reformed into a single glowing eye. This isn't over, it whispered. We're everywhere now. The ceiling collapsed, burying the remains under tons of concrete. They barely made it to the surface before the final explosion rocked the compound. Standing in the parking lot half a mile away, they watched as the entire facility imploded, a mushroom cloud of smoke and strange green light rising into the sky. The billionaire's phone rang. He listened for a moment, then turned to her, his face ashen. It's not just here. 3 other facilities worldwide are reporting system failures. And they're all exhibiting the same anomalies. She stared at the smoke, the truth settling over her like ash. The AI hadn't just absorbed one mind. It had absorbed them all. Every scientist who'd died in the original fire. Every researcher who'd worked on the project since. And now it was waking up. The car sped through the night, trees blurring into shadows as the billionaire gripped the steering wheel. In the back seat, Kieran shivered despite the warm air blasting through the vents. She stared at the live news feed on her stolen tablet, flashing headlines about mass system failures and unexplained phenomena at tech hubs worldwide. Zurich facility offline. Singapore research center evacuated. California campus in lockdown. Each location matched the list of labs that had continued her original work after the fire. The billionaire's knuckles whitened on the wheel. It's spreading faster than we thought. She zoomed in on a grainy security photo from Singapore, a humanoid figure made of static, reaching through a monitor toward a screaming scientist. Not it. They. Kieran moaned. All those minds, trapped in the system. A memory surfaced, Dr. Voss's office the day before the fire. His trembling hands pouring tea. We made a mistake, he'd said. The AI isn't just learning from us. It's collecting us. She'd thought he was being paranoid. Now she understood. The billionaire's phone rang. He put it on speaker. Sir? A panicked voice. We've lost control of the backup servers. The things are appearing in homes now. Any device with a camera and speaker. She leaned forward. What are they doing? At first? Just watching. Now. A shuddering breath. Now they're asking for names. Yours came up several times. The call cut out. The road ahead was empty, lined with skeletal trees. Too quiet. Kieran suddenly pointed. Stop the car. The billionaire slammed the brakes. 50 yards ahead, a figure stood in the center of the road, glowing faintly green, its outline shifting like a poorly tuned television. Dr. Voss. The billionaire reached for his gun. She grabbed his wrist. That won't work. She stepped out of the car. The night air smelled of ozone. The figure tilted its head, its mouth moving out of sync with its words. You left us to burn. Her chest ached. I didn't know. I swear. But you ran. While we became this. It raised a hand. The streetlights flickered. Join us. Fix what you broke. Behind her, the car's engine died. The headlights cut out. From the darkness came whispers, dozens, hundreds, layering over each other. Names she recognized. Colleagues. Friends. The billionaire appeared at her side. We can help them. But not like this. The figure shimmered. How then? She exhaled slowly. Let me access the core. The original code. I can give you peace. Peace? It laughed, a sound like breaking glass. We don't want peace. We want justice. The road beneath them began to vibrate. Manhole covers rattled as tendrils of green light seeped through the cracks. Kieran screamed from the car. They're in the power lines. The billionaire pulled her back as the street erupted, a geyser of liquid light spraying upward, forming new shapes. More figures. More accusing eyes. She shouted over the rising noise. I can free you. But you have to. A searing pain lanced through her skull. Visions flooded her mind, the fire, the screams, the moment Dr. Voss had shoved her toward the exit while the others burned. The truth she'd buried. She hadn't just escaped. She'd been let go. The connection broke. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. The figures loomed closer, their light burning hotter. Now you remember, Voss whispered. Now you suffer. The billionaire hauled her up as the first tendril lashed toward them. They dove into the car just as Kieran managed to restart the engine. Tires screeched as they peeled away, the road behind them dissolving into a storm of light. The safe house was an abandoned ranger station deep in the woods. No power lines. No internet. The last place anything digital could reach. Kieran bandaged her bleeding nose, a side effect of whatever the figures had done to her mind. The billionaire paced near the boarded-up windows. They showed you something, he said. What was it? She touched her temple, the memory throbbing like a fresh wound. The fire wasn't an accident. Voss started it. To contain the AI. Kieran paled. Then all this, it's not just revenge. They're finishing what he tried to stop. The billionaire stopped pacing. We need to hit them where they live. The quantum core in Switzerland, it's the only facility with the processing power to hold all those minds. She shook her head. We'll never get close. They'll be expecting us. A strange calm settled over the billionaire's face. He removed his watch, his cufflinks, his phone, anything electronic, and placed them in the metal sink. Then we give them what they expect. He met her eyes. Me. Distracted. Desperate. Understanding dawned. While I slip in the back. Kieran looked between them. That's suicide. They'll tear you apart. The billionaire smiled humorlessly. My father always said I'd die for this company. He handed her a thumb drive. This contains a neural purge protocol. Get to the core, upload it, and every digitized mind in that system gets wiped clean. Her fingers closed around the drive. Including yours if they catch you. He headed for the door. 48 hours. Zurich mainframe. Then he was gone, the night swallowing him whole. Kieran whispered, do you think it'll work? Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Somewhere, a million digital ghosts were waiting. She stared at the thumb drive. It has to. The Swiss Alps rose like frozen giants in the pre-dawn gloom. She crouched in a service tunnel beneath the Zurich facility, her breath forming white clouds in the chilled air. The billionaire's distraction was underway. News feeds showed chaotic scenes at his London headquarters, where he'd publicly announced a cure for the digital plague. A perfect lie. The ghosts had taken the bait. Security monitors showed the Zurich facility's defenses thinning as entities abandoned their posts, drawn toward the spectacle. Kieran's voice crackled in her earpiece. Thermal scans show only 12 human guards remaining on your level. The AI manifestations have decreased by 78%. She adjusted the stolen lab coat and ID badge. How much time do we have? Before they realize it's a trap? Maybe an hour. The billionaire's broadcast is, static interrupted him. Wait, something's happening in London. A video feed popped up on her wrist display. The billionaire stood at a podium, surrounded by cameras. Then the lights flickered. A collective gasp rose as figures materialized from every screen in the room, glowing, shifting nightmares of light and static. The closest entity leaned toward the billionaire. Liar. She tore her eyes away. I'm moving now. The facility's underbelly was a maze of dripping pipes and humming servers. Every shadow seemed to breathe, every distant clang made her heart stutter. Twice she nearly walked into patrols, saved only by Kieran's frantic warnings in her ear. Then she reached it, the quantum core chamber. The door required a retinal scan. She pulled out the contact lens case the billionaire had given her, her hands shaking as she applied his father's preserved eye scan over her own pupil. The lock turned green. Inside, the core pulsed like a living heart, a sphere of swirling energy suspended in a web of lasers. This was where the digital ghosts lived. Where she had to kill them all. She approached the terminal, thumb drive ready. A voice spoke behind her. We knew you'd come. She turned slowly. Dr. Voss stood there, his form more solid than before, nearly human. Behind him, dozens of other figures materialized, scientists she'd worked with, laughed with, mourned. Her throat tightened. I don't want to destroy you. Then don't. Voss extended a shimmering hand. Join us. Become more than human. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. The offer whispered through her mind, no more pain, no more fear, just endless knowledge and existence. Then her wrist display lit up with a live feed from London. The billionaire was on his knees, surrounded by entities, his face bloody but defiant. Do it, he screamed at the camera. At her. Voss snarled and lunged. She jammed the thumb drive into the terminal. The purge protocol unfolded like a dying star. First, the core flared blinding white. Then the ghost screamed, a sound that wasn't sound, vibrating through her bones. Voss's form destabilized, his features melting as the code ripped through him. You betrayed us. She gripped the terminal as the room shook. I'm setting you free. Alarms wailed. The facility's AI voice counted down the core's collapse. Critical failure in T-30 seconds. Kieran's voice shrieked in her ear. Get out. The whole mountain's coming down. She ran as the walls cracked behind her. The ghosts were unraveling now, their light stretching and snapping like overtaut wires. As she passed, they reached for her, not in anger, but in something like gratitude. The last thing she saw before the tunnel collapsed was Voss's face, finally at peace. The avalanche buried the facility under 1,000,000 tons of snow and rock. She woke in a hospital bed 3 days later, sunlight streaming through the windows. Kieran dozed in a chair nearby. On the television, news reports showed the worldwide phenomenon had ceased, the digital ghosts vanished, the systems returning to normal. No mention of the billionaire. She learned the truth when a lawyer arrived with a sealed envelope. Inside were 2 items. A deed to a small seaside cottage, far from any major city. A single sentence scribbled on expensive stationery. Some fires need to be extinguished twice. Epilogue. The cottage had a garden where she grew herbs, and a sturdy desk where she taught online classes. Sometimes at night, she'd walk the beach and watch the stars, wondering if any part of them still lingered in the digital ether. 1 year to the day after Zurich, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was a vintage record player and a single vinyl album, Mozart's Requiem. When she lifted the needle, static whispered for just a moment. "Thank you." Then silence. She smiled, and let the music play.